Hey, welcome back to Bible and Blues, and once again we are in the car.
What a coinky dink. So am I.
My one of my videos was I got a response video and a review by a guy named Godless Cranium. You know, and to be fair, he really kind of eviscerated my video. That's fine.
Nuff said. Hello all. We're done talking about this guy, but we are going to talk about this video by the Distributist, because I think he raises some interesting points that are worth addressing. So let's see what he has to say, shall we?
Because there isn't a single theistic argument that hasn't been refuted a billion times by me and countless other YouTube atheists.
We've destroyed them. We've absolutely owned them. And I'm going to prove it to you.
I am smarter than Thomas Aquinas. By an order of magnitude.
Potato!
We've absolutely owned them.
Because why is the unmoved mover necessarily God? Why can't it be a blueberry muffin?
We've destroyed them.
So that goes on for a bit. I cut it out to save time. But as always, I'll leave a link in the description box so you can view the original video in its entirety. Moving on.
So last week, in coordination with a video response I was making, I accidentally stumbled across the Skeptosphere again, and with the exception of the stuff having to do with the fight against progressives and the SJWs, I really haven't looked at this community for quite a while, and I couldn't help but just see what all of the really skeptical people were saying about religion and Christianity, and wouldn't you know it, they're still at it. And not only that, it seems like everyone thinks they've won. They've accomplished everything. They've knocked down all the Christian arguments, and their worldview is uncontested. It's sort of amazing how much triumphalism there is.
Believe it or not, I actually agree with the Distributist here. In a world where somewhere in the vicinity of 84% of the population identifies with a religious group, to pretend like atheism reigns supreme is flat out wrong. Even if you're talking about Christian YouTubers, there are a number of larger channels out there, such as Joseph Solomon, with 189,000 subscribers, John Jorgensen with nearly 300,000 subscribers, and Daphne Madyara with over 100,000 subscribers. Christianity is alive and well on YouTube, and pretending otherwise doesn't make much sense. Even if you think atheists have addressed every single Christian argument, that doesn't mean we've been able to convince a large percentage of Christians. Maybe we haven't addressed it in a way that Christians find relatable. Maybe they haven't seen those videos or arguments against their position. And the maybes could go on forever. My main point being that there is still work to be done. Patting ourselves on the back isn't going to convince the few billion people who still believe in a resurrecting Son of God that their position is wrong.
But then it occurred to me that I really needed to ask a question to all these good old-fashioned atheists and skeptics like TJ Kirk and Vernaculus and Thunderfoot. And that is, despite all the confidence you have that you've thoroughly destroyed and trashed the Christian arguments for God and the old-fashioned traditionalist worldview, are you guys really happy with your own skeptical philosophy's take on the world? Are you confident in its ability to handle the questions that humans have in the modern age?
Well, I'm not in the same league as TJ Kirk or Thunderfoot, but speaking for myself, yes, I think secular ethics and philosophies are far and away superior to religious alternatives. I'm also more concerned with what's true, rather than the utility of those belief systems. I would rather philosophies be built around truth rather than comforting lies. However, I do think the Distributist has a point here, which is why Holy Kool-Aid and I made a video discussing how to handle the grieving process if you're an atheist, as well as offering some resource links to those wishing to find secular communities. So this conversation is happening, and I do think it could be expanded on. In fact, I hope it is, because I think without these secular options and philosophies, religion will continue to dominate those spheres of influence. Like it or not, a large percentage of humanity wants or needs the services that religions often address, including their spiritual needs, what to do when a loved one dies, and how we construct communities where people can find support when they're in need. I personally think we can do a better job than religious institutions currently do, a job that doesn't include the strings that often come attached to religious aid, but it's a work in progress, and one I think we need to give some serious thought to.
Because I've been watching these atheist versus theist debates for a really long time, both when I was an atheist and after I converted to Christianity. And always in the back of my mind, both when I was on the atheist side and when I was on the theist side, I always wondered, what was really in store? What was going to flower forth from this skeptic view of the world? It's always sort of implied that through skepticism there's going to be some new healthy take on reality.
If by healthy you mean basing our lives around reality instead of comforting fiction, then yes, I think that will flower forth. I think it already is, as most Western societies become less and less religious. That doesn't mean we won't face obstacles or problems, but I view religion as one more problem, or potential problem anyway, at least in some cases, that hinder us from facing up to reality and thus finding real-world solutions.
Something that will really exceed what came before it, and I'm just looking at the world right now and wondering, you guys are confident that you've defeated Christianity. How does whatever you've replaced it with really measure up? How do you answer the questions that we have before us in the world today? It's easy to just cross your arms and say, you can't convince me, while you snark at all the previous ideas that other people have had.
In order to answer these questions, you would have to be far more specific. What answers are you looking for that you feel as if religion does a better job of answering than we could come up with using secular methods?
All I see looking at the internet atheists at this stage is a triumphalism built on the back of lolcows, built on the back of straw man, of going to the weakest possible argument and soundly defeating it while you tell yourself that you have all the answers.
See, I don't see them as lolcows. I see them as real people. These people have been convinced Christianity is true, and when they make their videos, they think their arguments are convincing. The average Christian, or average person in general, doesn't sit around reading philosophy textbooks. They live busy lives, and they believe things based on the information they've run across up until this point in their history. I think they're wrong. You might see their arguments as being weak, but that doesn't mean they see their arguments as being weak, and that's what I'm more interested in. I'm more interested in addressing their arguments the best way I know how.
So at this point I want to put out an actual challenge to all the big-name internet skeptics and atheists on YouTube. And here I'm very much talking about TJ, the Amazing Atheist, Vernaculus, Armored Skeptic, Thunderfoot. It's time to meet the Christian worldview and the traditionalist worldview in conversation. It's time to justify the triumphalism by not just searching the internet for the biggest lolcows, but actually engaging the arguments and confronting the worldview to show once and for all that skepticism actually has something to offer the world other than just some kind of self-righteousness in the face of a dying civilization.
Well, like I said before, once you provide some specifics, I think you'll find that atheists are willing to engage in that conversation. I do think it's a conversation worth having, and I think it's happening right now. Anyhow, that's all I have for this video. Thanks for watching, and now I'll leave you with this tidbit of music. Take care and cheers!
I'm gonna go to church, only got 20 minutes till the service. I saved the puppy, gonna tie my money, I'm an awesome Christian.
Yo, walk up to the church like, what up, it's me and H. Diddy. I'm so pumped about Christ, I brought a friend with me. King James in my right, testimony in my left. This ain't no pocket Bible.
Dang, it's bigger than the rest.
Rolling in Christian tea, heading to the meet and greet. Shaking sweaty hands, please re-sanitize me. Smelling so sweet, girls beside hugging me. Shoes be flying up, I'm washing people's feet. Ooh, man. But I'm a servant, baby.